Good evening. Hopefully you can hear me, and hopefully it's not doing too many crazy things with the camera. That would be good, right? But good evening. Good to have you all back. Unfortunately, wasn't able to stream last week, but you know, we're back. Hopefully to something of a semi-regular schedule, and that'll be good. But yeah, good evening, Ray. Good evening, Jadomo. Good to see you both. Thank you very much for joining. Hello to everyone else in chat as well. And just whilst we kind of give people a few minutes to kind of arrive and do their thing, I'm just going to sort myself out with my one drink of the evening. I'm at work tomorrow, so I've got to behave myself a little bit. But in a change to our normal, regularly scheduled drinking program, we're going to be doing some Morgan Spice rum in my new glass that I got for Christmas. So it's been a good day, so we're going to go to the good day level, which is the lowest level, meaning I'm drinking the least amount of alcohol, but there's nothing wrong with that. Music's a little high, thanks Avi. I shall knock that back. There we go. Hopefully that's improved things a little. Or maybe it should go the other way, right? Maybe I should knock the music down slightly, or up slightly, so you don't hear me at all. And maybe that would be improving things. I don't know. I genuinely don't know at this stage. But yeah. So, let's just have a quick grab of a can. Excuse me for a moment. There we are. So yeah, thought I'd go with something of a little bit of a kind of clickbaity title, but also not clickbaity, because it's something I genuinely think we should discuss. After running Siege of Orison today and having a good chat about it with AV and Edison and Red Bear, Stunner was in there too for a little bit, so yeah, it'll be good to kind of know what people think, but cheers all. Good evening to Shadow Girl. Hey, and Avi, welcome back, friend. So yeah, it's obviously a bit of a slow news period for Star Citizen at the moment, but there has been quite an interesting announcement about their content schedule, and we will go into that in just a second. This is a confirmed, not a random Photoshop post that we've seen kind of going around a few times. There's been a few of those kicking around. Someone photoshopped some sort of image about opt-out of PvP. That got a couple of people angry until it was revealed that it was a fake. So yeah, cheers all. Thank you very much for joining. Yeah. Whew. Even though it's on the lower measure, that one's going to be fun. But yes. Rum is never a question. Rum is the answer to the question. Unless the rum's gone. So yeah. So I'm just going to pop this poll up, and you feel free, if you can, to change your mind as we discuss it through. But the subject of the poll is, should Siege of Orison be PvP free? So we did Siege today. Luckily, thankfully, there was no kind of PvP stuff going on. So we kind of, there's a couple of people questionable, like people running around in nothing but undersuits and grenade launchers, which worries me a little bit, especially seeing as grenade launchers are fairly freely found, right? It makes you wonder. But yeah. AV says, yeah, that was a major lol. This is the post that they made about, or that someone tried to say that they made about PvP opt-out. Anything that says just complain to customer services if anyone shoots or steals from you has got to be a troll. Yeah, 100%. And we went to find the original and it wasn't there, and CIG later confirmed that it was rubbish. So, so yeah. And it's interesting, right? So, for the PvP stuff for Siege of Orison, we were talking about this today, and the question that I kind of asked of myself was, I said, well, I do feel like I don't want them to remove PvP from Star Citizen. On the other hand, I do feel like Siege of Orison is not the best testbed for PvP right now, because people are doing PvE, and only one side will enjoy that. Like everyone that goes into Tarkov, you know you're going to be fighting entities, and you know you're going to be fighting players. That's the whole point of the game. But I don't know, because this is the bit where I go, well, hang on, they know that there's PvP going into Star Citizen as well. I just don't think that area is particularly balanced for it. But I'd be interested to know what you guys think, because it's not an easy conversation to have. I think if it's going to be PvP, they need to do a few things. They need to remove a lot of the choke points, because anything where players have to group up, they have no ability to move, get out of the way, but they have to go through those choke points to progress. That can be cheesed by someone else, right? And a really good example of this is just the shuttle itself. If you go and stand at the top of the very first shuttle where you get out into the Siege of Orison, that is not an armistice zone. So I can stand at the top and spam grenades from my grenade launcher through the front door of the shuttle as much as I want, and no one can say anything about it. And what's worse is, on the shuttle, you're in an armistice zone. So you can't respond until you run out onto the platform and partway up the stairs. You lose the armistice zone. Now you can pull your gun out, at which point the 2 or 3 guys at the top will have completely railed you and killed you. You know, you don't stand a chance. Also, they're shooting down onto you, so they don't even need to hit you with the grenade launcher. They just need to get near you. Whereas, of course, if you're shooting up with a grenade launcher, unless you hit them precisely, you're not going to hit anything, because the grenade's just going to sail into the distance. So that's not good. It also works on lifts, right? You group up, you get in a lift, you go up a floor, people hear the lift coming, they see the markers of the good guys in the lift, and before the lifts even started to open, people are just spamming grenades at the door. And, you know, inside the lift you have to wait for the door to open, which means there's going to be a delay on you getting rounds on the enemy. They're just going to be flinging grenades from the grenade launchers in through the door, or rounds, or whatever, and it's not a fight, it's a massacre. And the problem is that those levels, a lot of them, you need to go through, on those platforms, those lifts to get from A to B. And I don't feel like that is a very good way of doing it. They could get around that with a couple of tanky, good NPCs on God mode. Yeah, which is an interesting thing, right? And you know, that sparks another conversation about, should there be God mode NPCs? Because that's not realistic either. You know, to me, it breaks the realism in the same way as preventing player-on-player damage. So I see what you mean, and it's definitely a solution. I'm not saying that it's not, and I'm not saying that there's a bad one. But it's still breaking that kind of realism side of things. Stakara, good evening, my friend. Good to see you. Notorious, giving players a grenade launcher was a pretty stupid idea in retrospect. Yeah, then you get to railguns and missile launchers, and then it just gets stupid. But there you go. Zaveth, good evening, my friend. Good to see you. Avi says, it's the people who can't win PvP that like to pretend they're good. Look at me getting all these kills. Yeah, I mean, there's some people, I mean, we were talking about this a little earlier on. The thing with PvP is, I think it was Red Bear 1 made the point that Star Citizen is not a game for instant PvP. It's not like Tarkov. Everyone isn't compressed into the same space with a couple of high traffic areas, not choke points, but high traffic areas. And, you know, you can sit and wait and ambush and all that sort of stuff. Star Citizen isn't that game. But if you want it to be, when Siege of Orison's on, spawning in at Orison and sitting at the top of those steps and shooting players is a really good way to get quicker PvP in Star Citizen. So yeah, it's weird. It'll be those people too. I like PvP, says Zaveth, but we need more PvE scenarios. It's a major reason why Deep Rock Galactic is so fun. I've not played it. I've seen it played, Zaveth. On that recommendation, I might well give it a go, because that sounds like it might be quite good fun. But yes, stuff like that, I think, being able to separate out, at least to an extent, is a good thing. I don't think for a second, I'm not suggesting that in the verse, just transiting from A to B that they should stop people PvPing. There always needs to be that low-level threat. It's what makes the game really exciting. Kind of like, you know, DayZ and stuff like that. Judomo says, if they restrict the navigation for the NPC, it just stops trolling at that point. Yeah, potentially. It just kind of stood there, almost in the same way that WoW tried to have the sort of the really high-level guards running on their areas. They weren't god level. You could still kill them, obviously. You could still raid other people's capitals. But it was that sort of thing. Shadowgirl says, super strong guard NPCs is a common old MMORPG tactic, so wouldn't be shunned. Yeah, exactly that. Hence the reference to Warcraft, right? But yeah, it's certainly one option. And I do think that we're going to have that in the game anyway. Imperial Navy stuff. The UE Navy clearly is going to be very, very powerful. And they keep referencing kind of military and non-military components. That's going to be one easy way to kind of hand-wavium away the difference and say, well, they've got military components and you can't get access to that. Or you can, but they're very rare and they'll be destroyed and you can't claim them and that sort of stuff, right? In the same way that, like, one-of-a-kind cars can't be insurance claimed in the real world because there's nothing to replace it with. But yeah, you just get some money back instead, that sort of thing. Yeah, interesting. On the other hand, if you make it too easy to remove that threat of PvP, I don't know. But we'll have a think about it. Good evening to everyone that's just joined us. Notice the stream's just jumped up in a couple of numbers. We're talking about Siege of Orison today and whether or not PvP should be banned in that arena. I'm talking about specific arenas where PvE seems to be the focus. I'm not suggesting for a second that PvP should be banned across Star Citizen. I don't believe that. And also, you know, whether it should be banned at all. I'm not trying to suggest that it should. I'm really interested in your kind of comments. I think rep will have a bearing on people griefing like that eventually as well. Yeah, and I think a lot of the criminal gangs will also be like that. Like, just because they're criminal gangs, it doesn't make them murder hobos, right? Being a criminal doesn't immediately mean you kill everybody on sight. You just look at the real world, right? There's plenty of ways to be a criminal without killing everybody. So yeah, like, YouTube's going to have fun with that sentence, right? YouTube's really going to get upset. Oh well. But yeah, sorry YouTube, not. But yeah, so, you know, I think a lot of criminal gangs will turn around and go, look, you're bringing too much heat down. If you go around and kill everybody, you're going to bring us to the attention of the local militia and the advocacy and eventually the UE Navy. So don't. And if you do, you're going to start to damage your rep with us. You know, if they do implement that system well enough, that's what it could be. But yeah. So one thing that I wanted to have a look at in the meantime was this announcement from CIG. Stikargod says they will have instance distribution centers, so having Siege of Orison be PvP is okay in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that'll be interesting, right? Is the instance bit. The instance distribution centers, I think, is an interesting idea, because when do you translate back into the shard with everyone else? You know, how immersion breaking is it to just suddenly have ships appear next to you that you had no warning was there, no indication that they were coming, that sort of stuff? That would be a little bit weird. They're going to have to carefully manage that if that's the way they decide to go. Also, I mean, do you pick up a mission and go into the instance with them to defend a distribution centers? It seems like those distribution centers could quite happily be could work in the real world without being instanced at all. So, yeah. But let's have a look at a little bit of this announcement that was made. So let's switch across. So this was this week's in Star Citizen. Okay, it was the comlink bit, and this is the interesting bit for us. Okay, so it says Inside Star Citizen and Star Citizen Live are coming back on February 1st and 2nd, and I wanted to take a few moments to talk about a change in our scheduling for 2024 that reflects the ongoing changes to our development in what promises to be the biggest year yet for Star Citizen. While we're still going to be releasing on Thursdays and broadcasting live on Fridays, we are no longer going to be programming on the standard quarterly cadence we've used since ISVC began. This is where they do 10 weeks on, 3 weeks off, 10 weeks on, 3 weeks off, right, and have those big gaps. In this new year of exciting challenges and anticipated releases, once ISC comes back on February 1st, it will continue to run until 3.23 comes out, however many weeks that will be. We'll then take a week or two off and come right back with the ongoing cadence until the next major patch, and so on and so on. That's really interesting, right? Because now we're just going to have constant content until the big patch. Then they'll take a couple of weeks to reset, and then on they go, right? Which is interesting. I'm not sure what the idea is behind taking the weeks off afterwards, other than I guess that's when Jared gets to have some holiday, right? But they don't need Jared in there all the time. They can do it with other people. And especially when the subscriber stuff is making $5 million a year, and they said they were going to use that to make stuff like this and give us, it feels like they could get content out, right? This is the beautiful thing about content creation. You can schedule stuff. So even if he's on leave, he could have made it in advance, right? I know I'm in a pretty weak position to talk about getting out more than one video a week, or even getting out one video a week, right? I get it. I hear you, but it's not my day job, in my defense. And also, you know, if you were going to pay me $5 million a year to do it, I'd make a lot of videos a week, I promise. So, on that note, my Patreon... No, I'm kidding. Okay, so Monterovi says, distribution centers. I'm uncertain or kind of feel like similar to Korea. They need to be joinable as security and raiders. Would also be better for PvP options for stealth to bypass defenders and players. Siege of Orison is way larger and more of a drain on the server, along with more of a risk of hidden and long-range PvP you can't counter well without a serious rework. Yeah, and you're not wrong there. You know, that ability to sit... Sorry, I'm going to knock the sound back. Apologies that that's been so loud the whole time. But yes, you are entirely correct. There are lots of little places to hide where players, because of these choke points, you know they've got to come through a certain lift or a certain platform or a certain entrance. You can sit there and watch it from multiple different angles. One guy fires a couple of times, then hides. Everyone's looking at him. They're not looking at the next guy, who then fires a couple of times, and so on and so forth. And you can just set it up so it's impossible, right? So yeah, 100%. I think distribution centers, they work really well. And then you can add all the optional stuff on. You can almost make it like I've been playing lots of Grand Theft Auto 5 recently with Shadow Girl, and she's been showing me the ins and outs of all the heists, because I'm rubbish. She's not. So she's been showing me all the heists and stuff. They've been really good fun, but there's lots of setup involved, and it gives you options on how you want to approach it. You have entry points, you have exit points. It's like, are you going to shoot your way in? Are you going to go in disguise? All that sort of stuff. And it feels like distribution centers, maybe a little later on, would support that type of gameplay, where maybe you go in and there's the option to go and attack a communications node, so you can knock it out, so you can delay that kind of distress call. I've been exposed, lol, says Shadow. No, absolutely. But yeah, so there are options there that are really interesting, and that sort of distribution center, I mean, why wouldn't you have that sort of level of gameplay for distribution centers? That makes sense, right? For those people who want the structured gameplay of, give me a mission, tell me what to do, they can just go, hi, you know, like, this is your target. These are all the things that you can do. These are all the options that you have, but you only have time to do 2 of them. So maybe you, I don't know, slow down the guards by confusing them and you kill the comms, or there's the option to like turn the air defenses against reinforcements, but you can only do one or two of those options. That would be really cool. AV says distribution centers could also be tiered, so high tier and high value stuff has both teams. Easy versions are PvE only. Maps are more condensed and less line of sight, hopefully more paths to prevent over camping. Yeah, 100%. And the beautiful, I think that's the thing, right? Is that with PvE content, you have the time as a player. If you're someone who likes to plan out a route and execute something and really get immersed in it and do those things at the pace that you dictate, that's the beauty of PvE content. Because you don't have a human on the other side wondering about how they can disrupt what it is you're trying to do. So PvE content has its own place. Similarly, if you like the fast, frantic, PvP stuff, that's great too. And exactly as Avi says, it needs to support both, I think. I know it'll. The thing about, if they're instance, then the whole idea of an instanced server or an instant distribution center is that it doesn't matter that you're doing PvP only, because no one else is being affected by it, right? So you're in there doing PvE stuff. No one's there going, why can't I shoot at these people? They're not seeing you at all. So you're effectively, you're not on the same server, right? Because you're on an instanced area. So what they don't know doesn't hurt them. And I think that's the difference with Siege of Orison. Orison is that Orison, yeah, it can be a bit more of a pain. But yeah. Oh, Avi, just to let you know, dude, I found it. It was on the barge, the Iffy. Avi and I were the last two of our team that went in today. Had a bit of a community game. We were the last two trying to find the Iffy. It was taking an awful long time. So at the end of the day, if Avi had to go and have something to eat, so I managed to fight my way onto the barge. And it was one of the containers on the barge, one of the jump puzzle containers. So yeah, we got there in the end, which is good. We were successful. On that note, for those that want to, I will put this out. If you are in the community, this coming Friday, we are going to run another Siege of Orison. So, please come along. It will be 9 o'clock UK time, so 2100 UK time. What we'll do is we'll meet up in Discord. We'll all get together, we'll get a group, and then we'll jump on a server as one big team, and then we'll go and do some fighting. So if you want to be involved in that, then please do. I'll put reminders up on the Discord. If you're not already in the Discord, there's a link in the description. Click, come across, and when I see you there, once I finish the stream, I will give you the role that will show you everything on the server, because at the moment, you don't have access to that. You'll just see a couple of bits and pieces. Okay, and then yeah, we'll have a nice community game. So if you're around for that, that's great. We have a world-class medic with us, who's also an exceptional pilot. So the good news is that you will be well looked after. Hopefully, we won't explode in fiery doom. There was a great moment during the previous stream where we we were in the back of a Star Runner with the ramp down on approach. We were all laid down in the back so that we didn't get knocked over and yeeted out of the back. On approach with our pro pilot, and there was just this moment where she said, "We've got missiles incoming," and she was popping flares and rolling and all this stuff, and we were sat there as these two missiles just streaked past us going in the opposite direction, exceptionally close but expertly dodged, and it was just an amazing Star Citizen moment where you're coming in, you can hear all the fire, you can watch the shields all popping and all that sort of stuff, and two missiles get expertly avoided. We landed, and we that was the one, I think, where we actually achieved the mission. So yeah, well worth it. It'll be great to have you all come along again, and we'll give that a go. But yeah, so yeah, some interesting stuff on the prospects for Star Citizen. Of course, Siege of Orison continues until the 5th of February, which I think is Sunday. Someone check my math. It's actually the Monday. So the 5th of February is the Monday at 1800 UK time. So that's really good news. And okay, it might be a little bit old. We're used to Siege of Orison now, but it is good fun. There seems to be a bug at the moment where the IFIs aren't working, so we are taking off and flying around without deactivating the IFIs, but the anti-air is not chinning everyone. So that's good news. Because the amount of times we've tried to do Orison, and the thing that stops us is everyone keeps getting in the ships get blown up, and then there's no way to get to Admin Center. Hence the thumbnail provided by Shadow Girl. Great piece of artwork. And I feel like we've all been there, right? Getting stuff shut down all the time. So yeah. Cheers, by the way. Running dry. Stand by. Oh, you get used to that. Rum was good. Yeah. I've had the window open for a very long time, so it's actually been really cold in here, hence the hoodie and stuff. But yeah. Zella says, I've never played Siege of Orison. Should I load up the same as for a bunker mission? So, yes. So, Siege of Orison, you want to come equipped with heavy armor, and you definitely want medium or heavy armor, and you definitely want a medium range weapon in your arsenal. If you only go with stuff that deals with stuff close up, you are going to get slaughtered in the open. The AI is getting better and better and better. Read, the server frame rates are getting better, so the AI are actually doing what they should be doing. So there are times when you are crossing the open and you are just getting hammered, absolutely hammered by the AI, as we found out today. Yeah, AV, absolutely. Medical stuff and gear. Do the the med guns. So take the med gun and a bunch of green goo. Because we have a medic who will be more than happy to explain how to keep yourself alive, and how to keep your meds managed. So that's worth doing. You don't need masses of ammo. There's more than enough of it lying around, especially if you take the stuff that non-intels normally use, like FS9s, P4ARs, the C54, all that sort of stuff. If you like those guns. Tractor beam is very useful. Especially on the barge, because if you take heavy armor, there's a jump that you can't make. So what you need to do is take your heavy armor off, make the jump in your undersuit, and then tractor beam your armor and stuff back to you. Because otherwise you don't get the distance on the jump, and that's confirmed. They've designed it like that. That's the whole point of it. So yeah, and also there's some big bodies. The bosses drop some limited exclusive helmets and stuff, and now it seems when you find the IFIs, there are crates in the IFI container and some others that carry subscriber flare helmets, so that's worth doing as well. But yeah, by all means. Yeah, Xanath, mate, if you want to join us on Friday, if that's something you want to do, then by all means. We've got a couple of people who've run it a fair few times now, so you'll be in good hands, and we'd love to have you along. You'll see that I keep putting up community member. Like if you join from the stream or from the videos, you're a community member. I don't put it behind paywalls. I don't ask you to be Patreon or paying any money. That's not the point here. The money I make from any of this stuff, and it's really not a lot, is to keep the channel going, is to buy the kit that I need, and hopefully one day do cool things like get me to CitizenCon, right? That's it. The rest of it is just about building a community so we can go and play and enjoy games together. And we've played Arma, we've played Grand Theft Auto, we've played Rogue Trader, and all sorts of stuff. So you're more than welcome. It doesn't have to be limited to this. This is my passion for making content, but I'm just a gamer. I just enjoy it, and it's about spending time with people you would not normally spend time with, and enjoying games together. So yes, very welcome, my friend. It would be great to have you. And if you're not comfortable talking, and that's what stops you, you can just come in and drop me a message, and I'll fight your corner for you. This is not necessary to you, Zavath. This is anyone watching. You don't have to talk. We will do all the talking for you. You can just listen and talk when you feel comfortable. There's no need to do that sort of stuff. You'll very quickly get the hang of it. We've got a little bit of a pattern going now, so there's a little bit of tactics being used. The absolute bare minimum, you'll pick it up in moments, and it just makes things so much better. There's less friendly fire, because that's rubbish, right? Unless it's Edison, in which case he deserves it, and we shoot him a lot. But everyone else is a no-no for friendly fire. Sorry, Edison, if you're here, but you deserve that. Ha. So yeah, interesting stuff. Let's go back to chat. So yeah, hopefully that'll be a good, fun community game on the weekend, and as many as we can get together to do that, I'll be looking forward to. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit of struggle now as to what to talk about and what to go through, because frankly, there isn't that much going on right now. You know, the ships and vehicles stuff. So what? You know, they sold it again. On another note, I don't know how long. I don't know if this is even still going. I know they're reselling the F8. Does anyone know if this is still going? Can you still buy this stuff, or is that gone now? Through January 29th. Okay, so it's fine. So let me know right now if you still need a golden ticket to get your F8, because I have so many of them, it's disgusting. So if you don't have an F8 and you want the opportunity to get one, then let me know. You'll get the ticket, it will unlock the ability to buy one if that's what you want. Similarly, you don't have to, because of course it's still going to be a reward for achieving certain things in Scourge of Region, and that's what I've decided to do. So we'll do a whole playthrough of that sort of stuff. Yeah, Genomo, insurance is not LTI. No, 100%. But I'm not convinced that LTI is kind of all it's going to be cracked up to be. So I think there's likely to be levels of insurance out there, and I think LTI is going to be the bare minimum insurance is going to get the ship back on the top. And I think there's likely to be more affordable to get priority rescue, component insurance and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just guessing. Down with the F8, up with the Scorpius, says Shadow Girl. Absolutely. Salty Mike had a good stream on that yesterday. Was that on the insurance stuff, Jadoma? Is that interesting? I might go and have to go and have a look. But yeah. Please do feel free to add to the poll if you're not there already. We only have 7 votes on it, but do you think Siege of Origin should be PvP? Should it be PvE only content? Or is that too much of a Care Bear thing? I don't know. This is why I'm putting it out. It was a really interesting conversation when we got into it today. So I'm really interested in what you guys think. 80 says, if I recall, LTI is base hull only, not covering upgrades and cargo, etc. But if you have a lot of ships, it's probably fairly valuable. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Did you see the SC teaser today about 5 hours ago on their Facebook page? Was that the image that they released? The driving of the 2 guys in the firefighting gear? Because if so, yes sir, yes I did. It looks very interesting. Bear with me, I shall try and drag that. I did link that earlier to Shadow Girl. So here's the image. Bonk. I'm just going to change you across now so you can see it. Too many buttons to click. Here we go. That's an interesting image, right? Kind of crazy. Yeah. So you got a couple of the is it the 4 or the 8 SCU containers, it looks like, on the left-hand side there. And then you've got 2 guys who are in, very clearly, as far as I'm concerned, firefighting gear. So you have full seals around the face, you've got decent visibility. And if you look at the guy on the right-hand side, he's got an orange glove on. Just above that orange glove, there appears to be something red dangling down, almost like a black and grey pocket watch, right? That is an air pressure indicator. So what he's able to do with his left hand is he picks that up, and because it's facing out, when he picks it up, it folds up towards him, so he can see, and that gives him the remaining air pressure in his tank. Obviously, for those that aren't aware, I was a Navy officer for a while. I was also a Navy Advanced Firefighter, what they call a CBRN DCQ. I was able to instruct firefighting and damage control, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, all that sort of stuff. So I'm all right. It's been a while since I put firefighting gear on, but that to me speaks firefighting gear. He's not wearing it correctly. You can see at the top left by his shoulder, just by his armpit there, he's got a metal belt buckle. Now what he should do with the straps is he should wrap the loose part of the strap around it so it's shielded from direct heat. Okay, because otherwise when he comes out of the fire and he comes to take that off, that is going to be literally hot enough to cook his fingers on. So yeah, you don't do that. You wrap the kind of strap around them, and it stops the strap catching on anything, and getting you caught up in the middle of smoke and everything else where you really can't see what's going on, and B, it means that you can touch those things without hurting. No, Shadow Girl, I was not a flasher. At least they never caught me anyway, so you can't prove anything. Avi says the cart for the show, the raid distribution center, isn't it? The hazmat gear stuff seems rather interesting. Yeah, I mean this is kind of cool, right? Maybe it's what they're transporting. Maybe they're transporting quantanium, unrefined quantanium, so it's got the timer on it. But yes, that cart very much looks like exactly what they showed in the distribution center. And that kind of bit in the background, the 02, kind of makes me think that as well. Because, you're talking floors now, right? But yeah. AV says, might add an interesting element if they do hostile environment. We have to, sorry, I'm just trying to repair suit leaks and such or die. Really force teamwork. Yeah, anything that kind of, not forces, but that really encourages people to work together, I think works really well in MMOs. So Gaucho, who's we call him the crazy Mexican. He's not. Don't know why. He's from Florida, but Florida Man and Can and I, we went to Ghost Hollow, and one of the most emergent things that I've ever experienced in the game was we'd gone in something that got blown up by a Redeemer coming down, and the Redeemer then attacked the rest of us. Unfortunately, I disconnected with the problem that I have now solved in Star Citizen, but the two guys managed to kill one of the guys coming out the back of the Redeemer, got on board and killed everyone else. So yeah, but it's that kind of fear and that reaction to what's going on is one of the reasons why I say I don't want PvP taken out of the game at all. That sort of stuff is really, really cool. And of course, unfortunately for them, they announced their presence by blowing up our ship. If they hadn't, they probably would have won that fight hands down. But that whole being a dick thing, that's what helped us beat them. So, yeah. As for the rest of that image, I really don't know what's going on. Hopefully, that's indication that those distribution centers will be coming in quite quick. I don't know if the letters on the side mean anything. CTU. That's in the yellow at the front. I don't know. I'm just above my head here. It's just CTU. Don't know. Other than counter-terrorist unit, I'm not entirely sure what that could be. Any guesses? Anything from chat? Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, all this sort of stuff. Yeah. I mean, I suppose we can sit and have a look through it, can't we? Cargo transport unit. I like that. Says AV. Absolutely. Notorious. Absolutely. Yeah. Very cool. I'm not sure how effective the mule is going to be. No, what was interesting to me about the mule is that all of a sudden tractor beams kind of came out, and then you got the two-handed tractor beam, and it just seemed to make the mule a little bit redundant. Seemed to be like a lot quicker just to throw stuff around with the tractor beams. The only way I think that's going to happen is if later on that weight lift means that big SCU containers or high weight containers just can't be lifted by us. So, like, if you've got an SCU container that's, say, I don't know, full of medical supplies or foodstuffs, that's fine. But if you've got one full of titanium or, you know, that sort of stuff, then that is going to need a mule to move around. I also like it's got the little packages for like or the little racks for the hand packages. That's really cool as well. So hopefully that works. Shady Face says, good evening, buddy. Those cargo movers are going to fly up and kill us, just like the other hand cars. Yeah. I'm sure it will. Yeah. Just like elevators. Still the deadliest thing in the game, as we discovered. We were jumping around on the 400i earlier, and that lift, I refused to get on it after about 3 tries. I was like, nope, taking the ladder. Thank you very much. You can still use multiple tractor beams. That's already a function where the more you add, the more weight it can handle. Yeah, 100%. You know, I don't know. It does really raise the question of how useful is the mule and what do they put it in for, other than the distance of moving stuff. Don't know. Might be, but that's not a forklift. It's an oversized pallet jack. Yeah, do not disagree. Mule is useful in moving things from one side of a large facility to the other. Yeah, that's it. And I think if they get more into the habit of, like, you know, if you're doing smaller scale distribution where you've got different packages, you know, like you do the pickup missions and you've got multiple crates to pick up, that sort of stuff. If you're going off and you can kind of dump the mule somewhere and off it drives, and then you go off and do your thing and then you go back and pick it up later. That kind of works, right? Maybe this is just copium. I'm not sure. But yeah. Okay, so through the combat stuff. I mean, the Crusader A1. Yeah. Bomber. Not as effective as the A2, unsurprisingly, but for the price point, still does the job. And then you have the Mirai and the Mirai MX. Again, people have done some really interesting stuff with these, and they've done, you know, like they've swarmed off of caterpillars as using caterpillars as carriers and stuff like that. You can do some really fun things putting these into ships where otherwise you wouldn't expect them to carry, you know, anything like it. Like, you know, putting them in the Carrack's vehicle bay is quite good fun. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think without the quantum drive, the problem is at the moment you can't find waypoints on the screen. So you can't actually navigate with them. You can't, for example, take a Mirai and go fly to something else on the planet using its navigation point. It's not ideal gameplay-wise. Hopefully that gets fixed with the star map. Anvil F8 Lightning puts out a ridiculous amount of damage. Not interested in getting in all the drama with that, but fine. Santoki Eye is the Santoki Eye. I really like the cockpit, and I really like the floaty stairs that it does. Yeah. Other than that, it's another alien ship. Scorpius Antares, potentially struggling to find its niche right now, but I do feel like it's going to be a lot more kind of viable, especially when you start to put it on ships that can carry it longer distances. I think having that, being a very formidable fighter and having the quantum snare is quite a powerful, or sorry, quantum jammer is quite a powerful combination. Hope we're getting waypoint placement with the new maps. They have confirmed you will be able to create waypoints and name them yourselves. They're working on some sort of search function and allowing you to order and figure those out. So I think it's just going to be a mess to start off with. But just the fact you can do it is going to be a massive quality of life upgrade, right? It'll be interesting to see that Mirai Heavy Fighter, the TIE Fighter, the Mirai Heavy Fighter when it comes out. Absolutely. Elevators are apex predators, but people seem to forget about the trapdoor stairs. Skip a simple step and boom, T3 leg at best. Yeah, absolutely. Antares will pair well for a pirate Polaris. That's a worrying thought. You at the helm of a, or you at the captain's chair of a pirate Polaris. That's a scary notion. Tumblestorm, really good looking up front. What I didn't realise about this thing, Shadowgirl showed me one yesterday. is that the two pods on either side are not articulated. So they're wedged together. So rather than being able to move independently and allow the tumble a very smooth ride, they don't. So the tumble's very rigid and bounces around a lot, which is not great when it's one crew. So that driver being able to deal with that gun with limited visibility. It's a beautiful looking tank, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like it's been implemented very well. So yeah, Tumble Storm, not a massive fan. Tumble Storm AA looks really good, suffers from all the same problems as the other one. And of course the Zeus, yeah, not out yet, so not interested. We'll see what happens when that when that arrives. And the X1 Force. X1 actually a lot of fun to drive. Really, really good. Industry ships. What do we get this year? Or last year, rather. Quite a bit, actually. Arastra, again, is going to be quite a game changer for the mining stuff because it has two reactors on board. That's what they're calling the refining facilities. Each reactor is going to be able to deal with about the same load as an expanse. So you've got two expanses worth of refining going on at the same time. Makes it interesting. And a significant amount of external storage. And a decent crew number. Crusader C1, I picked this up. I really liked it. I'm not a massive fan of the doors, but as someone pointed out to me a couple of days ago, they're going to work really well in the events of fires because you're going to put lots of bulkheads between you and the fire and the smoke. And that is always a good thing. And as someone who's dealt with that sort of stuff on board, can confirm that massively helps. Yeah, interesting stuff. C1 is a great daily. Stakara 100%. It's also got an incredibly fast quantum drive as stock, like ridiculously fast. I really like it. It's good fun to drive around. Misk Hull C, good looking, questionable internal storage or internal usage of its spaces, but again does exactly what it says on the tin. Really good fun to watch the Hull C and the Hull A unfold and do all that sort of stuff. Genomo says, at last someone can see the value in the many, many, many Crusader doors. Yes, absolutely, bud. Argo SRV. An interesting thing at the moment, especially given that repair of ships completely is not really taking place at the moment because it doesn't need to. It's just quicker and easier just an insurance claim, but it will come into its own, I am sure. The Hull C, says Monster AV, definitely seems to be the old ship pipeline rather than the new one. Yeah, for the interiors, yeah, 100%. Drake Vulture, I own this bad boy with the Best in Show skin. I'm really a big fan of the Vulture. I was watching Super Mac Brothers video today where he's in one and he's just kind of playing Space Vagrant and doing his stuff. Lots of fun. Yeah, I like it. I think it's really functional, especially now they've made the change where all the salvage and stuff that you take inside has its own internal depot. So none of that, oh look, I've got 2 SCU, now I must go down to the cargo hold and move them and then go back up. You can stock the cargo hold up to 13 SCU, you then kick it all out into the cargo area and then go again, and so on and so forth. Really good quality of life upgrade. Zeus CL, again, not out yet, so we'll see how that goes. So that's the industry ship lineup. Adventuring. With one of my favourite ships that they've released. The Jake Cutter Rambler, the kind of the mobile home one. Has anyone tried the Hull C this patch? Such a demo. I haven't. No, mate. But yeah. Very excited for the Zeus, says Notorious, but at the same time, I am happy to wait. Good. Yeah, Jake Cutter Rambler, Jake Cutter Scout, and one of my surprise favourite ships going forward, the Sulan. This thing from Gatak, the first ship we've had in game, or it's the second ship of that lineup. Really, really impressed. Feels like an alien ship through and through. The going into the cockpit being changed into vertical. It's a very, very different feeling ship. Really, really enjoy it. It's a fabulous, fabulous ship. Yeah. I have, says Stakargord, it's better but not perfect. Well, it's good to that it's getting there. Very dodgy docking and undocking last time I tried. Stakargord, did you have a chance docking and undocking it? Is that what you're talking about, or you able to shed any light for us? And then performance and luxury is our last option. Not so much in here, I don't think. The Fury LX as the racer. Incredibly nimble. I mean, those kind of rotating thrusters make it exceptionally fast. Even the fighter version is just mental. The RSI Lynx. I don't know if you remember back at CitizenCon, they showed with the RSI Lynx we're getting another one at some point this year, by the end of the year. Really, really hoping it's going to be the medical one. That there's going to be a med bed in the back, because that would be really cool. A ground medical vehicle, tier 3 med bed would really help. Interesting. So yeah. Avi says, haven't tried it this patch. No, kind of CCU'd it anyway after I didn't like the interior. Yes, it docks, says Takaragord. Just don't do it at Orison. Why not at Orison? Okay, most EVA stations faster. Yeah. You know what we might need someday? A firefighting ground vehicle. Yeah, I mean, certainly, I think we're going to see stuff like that, even if it's not stuff that we get hold of, because it makes sense, you know, when you land at a major spaceport outside, to have vehicles like that kicking around, just like you see the ones that are kicking around when you land at an airport, right? So that sort of stuff would be good. A medical Lynx would be cool. I think we were all hoping for it to be a medical ASA. Yeah, I don't know what the scale difference is. I think they're fairly similar anyway. Although I'm sure I'll be corrected on that if I'm wrong. But yeah, something like that would be very cool. Whether it's one or the other, I just can't think we need one. It kept glitching into the docking arm or would spawn away from the arm. That's a leap of faith, if ever. Hopefully I make this. Oh, I missed. Maybe it'll be a golf caddy answer. I mean, that's a really good question, right? What is the craziest thing they could make an Arsa or a Lynx do? Like the rover or the Lynx. What would be the strangest thing? You know, like the disco one. You know, like the Cutlass Purple with the disco ball and the stuff that Disco Lando was talking about a couple of years ago. I've been following this game for far too long. I need a new hobby. Rum and Coke. If anyone's wondering why I'm drinking drinks out of a posh glass, it's because it's rum and Coke. I've just not got. I've not become like a Coke connoisseur or anything. Ice cream van Ursa. Shadow Girl has it. The ice cream van Ursa. Do we have any advance in the ice cream van Ursa? And then the X1 and the X1 Velocity. Yeah, Warhammer vehicles. A lot of people will obviously buy these in game as opposed to buying them normally. I've got one of these. I think it's the X1 Velocity. I'd have to check. But I haven't applied the CCV yet. It was up from a Steve, I think. So, the STV. I still think they should convert the Rock DS into a repair DS. That would be interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Roadside assistance Javelin. Get out, Notorious. Just you know where the door is. Don't let it hit you in the backside. I'm kidding, but yeah. So yeah, interesting. I'm kind of glad that you can still hear me because I'm a little bit concerned. I was looking at the levels and I was like, I don't think my mic is moving, but no one's shouting that I'm muted, so I'm assuming you can still hear me. Put a cherry picker on the second seat. Yeah, absolutely. Spray painter, so you can paint rude things on the side of your ships. Audio 5x5. Thanks, Zavis. Appreciate that, buddy. Yeah. So, you know, this came around, and of course, there was a little bit of consternation from certain corners of the community. about, well, hang on a second, are CRG just doing a money grab? But it's kind of weird because CRG don't sell their products all the time, and that in itself is. Can you imagine like if Amazon only sold certain things for, they're like, oh, you can only get most of our range for like 6 weeks of a year. You'd be like, you're supposed to sell stuff, so sell stuff. So yeah, I didn't have a problem with it, I must admit. Love the Terrapin, says Jadomo. Some paints would be nice too. Gib Terrapin paints. Yeah. Hashtag the Terrapin needs love too. 100%. Yeah, so interesting stuff going on. I'm just going to stop that because that constant chip, like just that constant pattern of flashing and stuff is doing my nut. So I'm just going to get that off the stream. I can't do it anymore. Driving me mental. But yes, and even though it was a money grab and FOMO thing, I'm really digging my F8C LTI. Yeah, I mean, the thing with, again, like I'll say, the F8C is, I loved it when I flew it. I really like the F8C. Really like the aesthetic. The minute they put me in it, I was like, holy cow, this is great. I'm waiting for, Squadron 42. They told us from the beginning that we were going to be able to get that ship without having to pay for it. So if people want to pay for it, it's fine. It's great. I'm not knocking it. But, it's like you can have it for free or you can pay for it. Doesn't feel like such of a cash grab to me, because it's like if people really didn't want it like that, they wouldn't pay for it, right? So yeah. But yes, it was an interesting decision to bring it out. It was a bit of a shock to everyone, I think. What I really do like about the way they brought it out is, or this element of them bringing it out, was the whole ticket thing. And I think they could keep doing that, right? Wouldn't it be cool if ultra rare you got a ticket that gave you 7 days of a free, I don't know, insert big ship here, right? So you just have it for 7 days. It would be like a rental. But it would be yours, and then after 7 days it would disappear. And just have them as like ultra rare, kicking around the universe. Even every so often, like do the platinum ticket. Give people ships. They're digital assets, and if you make it rare enough, people find maybe across all the servers there's like one a week. It's 52 ships a year. You're not losing anything out. That person who finds that might not have ever bought another ship anyway without that ticket, and that's it. Make it non-transferable. Once you find it, it's looted to you. You can't drop it, and you can't put it in your hands. So there's no way for you to transfer it to another character. You pick it up, and that's how it's redeemed. Once you put it into your inventory, it's redeemed. That's it. Because that way then there's going to be no grey market trade in them. You can't do any of that stuff. So yeah, it would be cool if they gave us the option for an F8A with Squadron 42, raise the size of the weapons back to what they used to be. Imagine if they sell an alien ship, you have to do a diplomatic alien mission in game first to unlock the option to buy. Yeah, you were talking about that earlier, the idea of rep and stuff, and everything being behind rep. That would be very cool. AV says the F8 I like, but it's like I would rather have them do sold other ships like the Idris M or the Carrack Expedition, and you've also got you've got the paints as well that people could do. You could find that stuff in game, and I don't feel like any of that would be game breaking, right? It's not going to run CIG to bankruptcy. It's not going to do any of that. But they've done it for one ship, so do it for a bunch. Force rarity is our Vandal size going for thousands. Yeah, so what you do with this stuff is when it goes into your collection, you can't gift it, you can't transfer it. It's just yours. End of gen. So if you don't want it, you don't pick it up. It's not someone else in your party who needs that. Or if you're not playing the party, then tough. Yeah. All of my own ships have LTI since ever, so I'm worried that someday they'll introduce some of my LTI price when ships. I mean, possibly. The thing is that LTI, the lifetime insurance, or the insurance system isn't fleshed out. So, what insurance is clearly there to do is to enforce, like, some sort of care over your ship. So you can't just take a javelin out and go, oh, well, right, I'm going to go get a new one, right? The idea of losing a javelin, it wants you to disengage and get away rather than just, oh, well, it doesn't matter if I lose the ship, it doesn't matter if I lose the ship. That sort of stuff. Oh, music is loud. There we go. Do apologise. So, yeah. And now you probably can't hear it at all, right? Oh, hang on. Oh my god. It's because on this one, for somehow, I've got like 7 different levels of music on this. So I had one knockdown, and the others were all going, so oops. Oh well. Yeah. So the LTI stuff, it's obviously a mechanic in the same way that you've got repairs in World of Warcraft, right? It's gonna help siphon money from players who don't have that insurance on it. It's also very likely that there will be tiers of it, right? Hey Napo, good to see you, buddy. I hope you're well. And you know that Caroline too, fine. Good to see you, mate. He says, I agree. I think players should be penalised for being reckless with the ships. Force you to be conservative and tactical with your resources. Yeah, absolutely. Almost like that ship is yours and you don't want to use it. Yeah. Thanks, Evis. I'll bear that in mind, buddy, and hopefully that now won't be too bad. So this is the loudest this song gets. So if we're doing all right with this, then hopefully it's fine. If this is too loud, let me know and I'll knock the level down another peg or two. But this is about as loud as this gets. Designed as an in-game money sink. Yeah, and you think of all the other things you can do with lifetime insurance, right? You can have levels where you get an automated rescue response. Good level. Fantastic. Thank you very much, babe. So, you know, you can have rescue responses. Maybe you have encrypted rescue beacons. So you can put a mission out, but that mission only goes to, say, people in your org and other orgs, and because the code's encrypted, and then it becomes part of data running. We've intercepted an encrypted rescue beacon, and now you decrypt it. You find out who it is and what org they work for, and maybe that information's useful to someone. Like, you could do so much with this sort of stuff that comes into all of it. So, you know, and then the players who want component cover and everything else, they pay a little bit more over and above LTI. You're right, though. I think if LTI comes in, or insurance is broken down into those levels, I think it's very unlikely that LTI will be anything other than the base level. I think you'll still get more. But yeah, I mean, personally, I'm not that bothered about LTI. If I can get it, I will do. Like, it's great. I'll always upgrade through it. But at the same time, you know, it's not a requirement for me. Avi says, I agree. Fully expect tiers of insurance. Expect an in-game insurance rider to cover things like components and cargo. Do rather wonder how insurance will work for crafted ships, though. Yeah, good question. If we simulate insurance gameplay, 6-month claim time, lol. Yeah, and then they just refuse to pay out for no reason. They were like, actually, I think you'll find that sticker you had was non-regulation, so we are no longer obligated to pay out. So I think that's probably quite likely. Lifetime transaction insecurity. Some people just wake up and choose violence. So yeah. If anyone fancies giving Siege of Orison a go on gameplay, I'm more than happy to give that a go. The only problem is, of course, that because I don't have a separate streaming PC, I'll kill the camera, which is probably a good thing. It means you don't have to look at this anymore. But you know, we can give Siege of Orison a go for about an hour or so. However, I do have work tomorrow, so I'm not going to be kicking the backside out of it today. I will at some point need to go and get my head down, so I'm not rubbish at work. So yeah, Zella says, two-part question. F8C from Squadron 42, will that be free or an opportunity to buy? And two, since Squadron 42 has 3 parts, will we have to beat all 3? Okay, so, as far as we know, Squadron 42 will come from the first part. So that's that. So you'll be able to do it after episode 1. What we understand is that it's not just completing the game, you also have to do certain things within that game. So maybe you need to build up reputation with a certain faction, complete a mission, find some sort of achievement or something, right? What that will then do, once you've achieved that in-game, it will then unlock the F8C to buy in-game for you. So you go to a particular vendor and it's like a reward. The initial plan for Star Citizen and Squadron 42 was that you would play Squadron 40. They were sold once as one game, and you would play all the way through Squadron 42. Once you completed it, you mustered out into the universe, and that was the start of your Star Citizen playthrough. So, in other words, you would be, it would be like, thank you for your service, veteran. By the way, it's been decreed that you're able to buy an F8C because of things you achieved whilst you were in the service. So, just let us know when you want to purchase that. It was that sort of thing. Obviously, that's not how they're working it anymore, but it will be after the first one. So, yeah, that's F8C after the first one unlocks the ability to buy it in-game for in-game currency. So no further purchase required. That was confirmed at again when they did the F8C stuff. So they've reconfirmed that as recently as last year. Carlton Whitfield, good evening, bud. Good to see you on stream. Some form of insurance cost is needed to take money out of the economy. Yeah, absolutely. In the same way that there's repair costs and all that sort of stuff, they need to siphon that. And it will be things like, obviously buying fuel at stations from NPCs, buying anything from NPCs will start to drain that off. Otherwise, we're just going to end up with ridiculous inflation. Avi says, hey, turns out your Jav wasn't properly demilled. Sorry, it's been scrapped. Could you imagine? I'd be a little bit angry. I'd probably go postal at that point. More rubbish at work. You're not wrong, mate. You really are not wrong. We'll talk about that later. Avi says, depending on what the issue is and how many lanes you can add and stuff, I added an ARC 310 to record gameplay in OBS on everyone. Saves a son of space and CPU overhead. Mate, we will have a chat about that later, in that case. If it can allow me to kind of stream and maybe keep the video on so there's going to be a little bit of reaction. I mean, to be fair, all that's going to happen in that gameplay video is going to be me, like, while I'm playing the game. It's going to be me clicking on shit. But so you probably don't want the camera, but we can do that. Shadow Girl says, I just want some way to buy back my hangar weapons and armor. Yeah. So yeah, we were talking about all the stuff that you get as rewards. So when I had the Talon, I had the AV's armor, the Tavarin looking kind of bird armor and all that sort of stuff. There's like the Arc-Light Gimmer pistol, there's your top hat and monocle. I know they're working on it. I know they've said they're working on it, but some way to buy that stuff back. Because the problem is, you go out with it, something random happens, and you just lose it until the next kind of fix. So yeah, how long has it been since character repair worked? Seems like ages. Yeah, so they intentionally took that out. That was a known move by them. I guess they're kind of hoping that will no longer have to happen. However, we can confirm that it does need to happen. There was a bug this patch, which if you willingly surrendered on a fines terminal because you had crime stat and went to prison, for some people the screen would go to black and that would be it. Until the next patch, you couldn't do anything with your character, even though like a point patch. Yeah, so Shadow Girl had to deal with that last time. So we were in the middle of playing. She was going to show me how to do an escape from Clasher. That video I've still got to release that. I've had fun with it, but yeah, Shadow Girl couldn't get into even the menu. the game would not load at all. So couldn't do Arena Commander, couldn't do any of those things. Just it wouldn't get into that. So completely locked until this patch, and that's thankfully fixed it. So yeah, be careful surrendering to those terminals. I don't know if it's been fixed. Because it's fixed the characters, I don't know if it's fixed the bug that's causing it, so please be careful. CIG finally cracking down on people who murder poor civvies to steal their outfits. What was really weird was all we did was we jumped the wrong side of a barrier. That's how we got the crime stat. We were the wrong side of a barrier at Orison. That was that. Since we're still in January, says Zaveth, what percentage of all the features shown to us at CitizenCon would you guess are going to make it in-game this year? I'm hoping for 25% and overjoyed with 50%. Yeah, I think... So there's two elements to this right now. And I think for me, the key thing at the moment is that we are used to the work rate that they've done when they've got most people working on Squadron 42. Now that they are migrating people across to Star Citizen, hopefully that work rate will get a lot quicker, right? And it's not going to get quicker. It will get quicker eventually, but it will get exponentially quicker, right? Because first of all, they've got to integrate into the teams. They've got to get used to new modes of learning. They've got to understand how the code differs in a multiplayer game to a single-player game and how that affects what they've been working on. So they might fully understand these things, but they're still getting used to it, if you see what I mean. It's like when you work on one document, you work on another. You're just finding your way around stuff. Whereas if you've been working on it for ages, you're so much quicker at finding stuff. It's going to be that sort of thing. They've got to integrate in the teams. They've got to do all that sort of stuff. They're going to be talking to people in different locations. But it will get quicker. And of course, as they nail things in Squadron 42, the amount of devs working on Star Citizen will only increase. So, I'm willing to be a little bit more optimistic. I'd love to see 2/3 by the end of the year of what they've said, because it already exists. They're not having to create anything like they're having to do with other stuff. They're having to reprogram it for multiplayer and make sure that it works in a multiplayer environment with netcode and all that stuff that doesn't exist in a single player. But I'm really hoping they'll do well this year. And that's... Normally, if you've been around a while, you'll know that I'm not normally given to that sort of optimism. It'll be what it be. But I'm genuinely hoping that we will see an increase in pace this year. Because I'm getting old and I'm not going to be around forever, and I want to play this game before I pop my clogs. Sorry, I got dark at the end. Oops. Ray Louderback, any word on naming our ships yet? Nobody. Unfortunately not. Yeah. So we came up with a name for my Perseus. For those that aren't aware, some very, very amazing people in the community, especially in the Info Runners, they crowdfunded me a Perseus. By crowdfunding, I mean they got together an incredible CCU chain that allowed me to get a Perseus at a massively reduced price. And basically, people crowdfunded it through one of the streams, and it was just amazing. People's generosity it's blown me away, because I'm a massive fan of the Perseus, and I will basically stop people in the street to tell them how much I love the Perseus. But yeah, so I've got this Perseus, and everyone's obviously wondering what I'm going to call it. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to let people know until it has been named, because the naming right, there is no naming right for it at the minute. But there is a name. It is in the works. One lucky person in chat knows exactly what that name is. Everyone else is going to have to guess. But there was someone who actually mentioned the name of the book that I've gotten the name of it from. So I can't remember who that was. If it was you, make yourself known in chat. But yes, absolutely. We were going to go with Uwu Wagon, but I was talked down off of that one. I was also considering, high velocity armor piercing ballistic hugs or something like that. But no, we've got a better name. And I'm being told to take a drink, so cheers. This is just the YouTube version of Dance Monkey Dance, right? That's what's happening here. Basic server recovery and replication layer is actually in open testing, which will be a big improvement, even though the game has been fairly stable lately. Yeah, I was really impressed with how stable things have been. And playing Orison still has a couple of bugs. So obviously the AA and the IFIs, that stuff's not working. The other thing that's happened with it is that they still have the party crates that you search for the IFIs, the IFF inverters. Those things, every so often there's still a double one, so you'll open the shutter and the shutter's still there because there's one inside, but you can't access the numpad for that one, so you can't get in there. And of course, if that contains an IFI, that's a big problem. But they seem to have eliminated bugs like keypads or the codes not spawning. They've also eliminated, it seems, lieutenants spawning in the floor, which is a real problem, or was a real problem, because the amount of times we get all the way to admin center, and then the lieutenant that you're supposed to kill for the code, and you need to kill him to complete the mission, is bugged through the floor. And no amount of grenades, railgun shots, missile launcher shots, grenade launcher rounds, nothing kills him because he's got plot armor or something. And unfortunately, there's no amount of glitching either that would kill him. So yeah. Zaveth, muscle corona ejection detected. You won the paint on Info Runners, mate. That was you. That was awesome. That was my favorite. That was just great. I had to override Algrid and John for that. That was perfect, mate. Top notch. Chef's kiss on that one. It was really good. For those that don't know, the Info Runners, fuckers, got a really awful picture of me from the Citizen Con stream when I've been drinking quite a bit, and I pulled some god awful face. And they had a caption competition for someone to win a paint, and it basically looked like I was in the throes of lots of pleasure. Awfully though, but like I was doing it satirically. So the winning caption was, of course, in Pyro when the star sends a solar flare. The warning is mass coronal ejection detected, and that was Zaveth Sanchez. So Zaveth's got the paint off that. So yeah, congrats, bud. That was I giggled. I was always questioning the idea of like having a caption competition when it's your face, and I wasn't disappointed by how much arseholes people could be. When you say to the internet, caption my face, like that doesn't end well. You end up with insecurity issues and all that sort of stuff. But that, honestly, I was that close to crying with laughter. It was great. Well done. Well played. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. There's a lot of obviously people out there who want to name their ships. Going back to Ray's question, but because it seems like the simplest thing in the world, right, to allow people to name their ships now, but apparently not. Personally, I think most outside of the base building, yeah, I mean they did caveat with it that was the work on that was only starting in January, was only starting this month. So the base building is clearly separate to that. I don't think they're going to get anything. They were talking about maybe selling land claims and stuff, whatever. I don't plan to make many more purchases. I've got to buy back some of the CCU chain that I have. Maybe we'll have a look at that, right? That might be quite good fun. Although a lot of people have seen it in the video. In fact, let's do that. There's a video that I've got about how I buy ships, and I talk about the big CCU chain I've got up to a reclaimer. That's worth watching if you want to go and watch that. That's gonna explain how my CCU chain looks. But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Pyro, Idris, base building, etc. Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping they get Pyro out this year. I'm really looking forward to getting through the to getting through the Pyro jump gate. I didn't play Pyro, mainly because I didn't get invited. But I'm also really looking forward to having a very genuine stream with you guys, or a genuine video, maybe both, recording my reactions, going through a jump gate for the first time, seeing the planets for the first time, seeing Ruin Station for the first time. So I'm looking forward to that. Sandgroper, hello, bud. Good to see you. Welcome in. CCU's a king, absolutely, and Polaris for Pyro. There will be someone else who will be very in chat who will be very pleased to hear you say so. But yeah, some big Polaris fans in chat, and I have been convinced to have a look at, ahead of the Polaris coming out, at the Polaris and my thoughts. Obviously, being an ex-naval officer, I have some insight there to offer potentially that hasn't been done in videos before. So despite the fact that Polaris has been done to death, I think there might be some unique insights. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah. The bug that turns you into an NPC still exists in Area 18. Yeah, avoid Area 18 like the plague. There is a workaround for it. It's incredibly tough. You've got to do some very strange things to get out of that bug, as Shadow Girl will no doubt tell you. But yeah, there are some weird bugs. CCUs really do save stupid money, a few bucks here and there, and I got way more ships than I should have. Yeah, Can, bless him, had to go through untold levels of pain going through my fleet with me and explaining CCUs in great depth, and then having to deal with sometimes I just didn't want to talk about it, so he had to try to tease all that out of me, bless him. But yeah, Stakara, sorry, very quickly, I just want to pick up on that. Pyro was a very different game. How so, bud? What made it feel different for you? I'm interested. It's a promising thing. But yeah, the CCU stuff, it's fine. I mean, so I'm both ways. If you want to save money, CCUs are a great way to go. And if you're looking for how to CCU, there are great videos out there, and I will always recommend info runners in this regard. They will help you build a fleet. So if you go to them with what you want, what you have at the moment, they will help you get and tell you what sales to go on and how to get there. So they're really helpful. They have people in their Discord. That's their role, right? So yeah, that's really, really good to do. But I'm also just a fan. If you want something, bloody buy it. I'm not planning to put much more money into the game for the foreseeable future. But you know, there are times when people will tell you that the ship that you want you shouldn't have for XYZ reason, and there'll be reasons that are very valid to them. They don't necessarily need to be, or they're not necessarily going to be reasons that are valid to you. Right? This is a game. It's a hobby. And sometimes you want to do things in a hobby that other people won't want to do in their version of the same hobby. Nothing's going to scratch that itch, so have a go. All I would say is, if you are in any way unsure, wait for one of the free flies, pick it up for free, muck around with it first, and then find out if you want to say it. Because there's lots of money going into this game for virtual spaceships. But, having said that, you know, it's better than being on the streets, right? Jidomo says, don't think we really know what these big ships are capable of until they are fully crewed in-game. And Shadow Girl says, it will very heavily depend on the quality of the teamwork of those crews. I'm screwed then. I need some friends with LTI, says Jidomo. Yeah, look, there are so many factors with the big ships that people don't take into account. One of them is communications. The idea of, you think of a Polaris, you're trying to launch something, so the pilot needs to be able to talk to the flight deck crew. The engineers need to talk to each other. The turrets need to talk to each other. The pilot needs to talk to whoever's controlling torpedoes. If it's not them, the captain needs to control all of that. And if you think you're doing that in one Discord channel, you are mistaken. And that's the polite way of putting it. There's no way. One of the things I really want to do is, I'm a member of the 77th JSOC, which is an Armour Milsom community. I haven't been there in a long old time, but I was really pleased to find out that I'm still on their reserve list. And what I want to do at some point is I want to jump into the TeamSpeak channel, and I just want to record for a moment what it sounds like. They use a mod that's radios, so when they talk, they all sit in one channel. But unless you're on the radio and you're on the right frequency and you're within range, you don't hear anyone else talk. If you sit in there and you don't have the mods enabled, all you hear is everyone talking at once. And they do that with 40, 50, 60 people, so less than a full Javelin crew. The noise and the level of carnage is something else entirely, because there are all sorts of people talking, having conversations, and there are things, I forget what it's called. What's the other, there's the other voice chat thing. Is it Guildy or something like that? Let me know. You guys will know what it is in chat. But there's something like that where it's starting to go that way. But I genuinely think they could do that in game. Because if they make it high quality, easy to use, and do things in game that you can't do anywhere else, people will use it, and then they can do very fun things with it, like jam it and all that sort of stuff, right? And sure, people can sit in third-party software and talk, but if you know, that's fine if you want to do that, but you can have fun with jamming and turn people into local comms and all that sort of stuff. Hell Let Loose does it, Squad does it, exactly that. Different channels that you talk, and all you do is you press a different push to talk button. Armour does it. Armour's been doing it for years. Armour's been doing it since, God, back in 2013, whatever it is. Even before that, like the first Armours were doing it. I think the fighters will be stuck around the space stations once we get the full systems. Yeah, that's the interesting thing with fighters. So I'm going to go back up and I'll come back to the fighters thing. I've realised I've missed a bunch of comments. Zava says, I've been CCUing to a C2, but after Pyro, I think I might have to go to an M2 for the armour factor once that kicks in. Interesting. Cool. Nice choice. Customer, this is a game. Banker, so this just looks like a series of purchases. Yeah, worrying, but accurate. AV says, I personally think Pyro felt too small, although getting shot in the spawn area was interesting. Overall, it was rather surprised how similar it felt to most of the time. It was just always shoot first, question never. Yeah, DayZ had a similar thing where in the original days of DayZ, the reason it started off so successful was that people would interact and you would hold people up and you wouldn't necessarily kill them and all that sort of stuff. Now it's just kill on sight, murder, hobo fun. But yeah. So yeah. All the planets weren't in the preview. Fine. I think the Strike Fighters will be stuck around the space stations. This is the interesting thing about carriers, and I don't feel like the Kraken quite covers it. They're going to need more carriers because it's the range. So the Vanguard is supposed to be able to jump like a system away and deal with that and then come back. Other than that, most of the fighters will be limited to the system they're in, and even then, they're probably not able to go all the way around the system and come back again. So at the moment, it's fine because there are loads of rest stops and stuff. Even in Pyro, later on, when fuel and carriers and all that are a thing, it's not going to be the case. And it may well be that one of the things they do with fighters to give them to make them less potent at range is potentially extended range fuel tanks. So you swap out pylons for you've got two size 2 hardpoints. Maybe you switch them out for two size 2 extended range pylons. That might be quite cool. Ship-wide is also fun. People will be chomping at the bit to do their own jump countdowns. And do you know what? Communications and the way that sounds so good. I'm tempted to do some armor stuff. I might even do a stream of it one day, right? We'll do maybe a Friday night ops in armor. Because just a little bit of effective comms changes the experience. So when you're taking off in armor, you taxiing for runway 22, right? And then you get someone come back and go, runway 22 right clear, winds are 210 at 10, cloud base 500 feet, and you just get that kind of callback that feels like things are real. And then there was one girl who played on the armor servers, was incredible. Everyone used to take the mick out of her a little bit because she had a very kind of very high-pitched, very squeaky voice. It sounded like she just needed a hug all the time. However, she was obviously National Guard because she was using all the right pro words and she was using correctly formatted calls for artillery fire. So I was like, you might want to stop taking the piss because she could probably kill you. So stop. But yeah, incredible, like when you call for fire and you're under, you got rounds cracking off and that sort of stuff. So maybe we'll do some of that. But that sort of stuff about comms is, jump countdowns and all that sort of stuff, orders, bringing people to action stations or condition one, um, all that sort of stuff is going to be very, very cool. And just immersion building, just the ability to hit an alarm, a general alarm that goes to the ship and change everything to red lighting, that kind of red alert sort of, all that sort of stuff. Very, very cool. I'm getting a bit of a nerd thing here. Careful, Badges. That sounds dangerous without gameplay. Sorry, mate. I'll stop it. I shall rein it back in. Vanguard and the Defender shouldn't be seeing arrows without carriers, although admittedly I'm not fond of all the fighter spam everywhere. Yeah, and this is where it changes, right? All that sort of stuff's going to be very cool. That sounds great, and no loading screens. Yeah, having played an awful lot of Grand Theft Auto and Starfield over the last 6 months, yeah, no loading screens would be lovely, please. Also, Rogue Trader's very guilty of it as well. It's a Badgers. Now we're in trouble. Hello, Retina. Good to see you, bud. How are you doing? I haven't seen you in a while, I don't think. I hope everything's well, bud. I hope you're keeping. But yeah, the klaxon. You even do the dive one notoriously. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. You can have so much fun with it. Oh God, can you imagine the carnage if you were allowed custom sounds? Like a soundboard, you get the old, like the ooh, we'll get ooh, 10 seconds to jump, 10 seconds to jump. Oh God, oh, I need to claw my own eyes out now. I'm sorry, that was like you did not sign up to come and hear me do an ooh. Like, yeah. Actually, how did you get the name Badgers? So Badgers is actually not the full name I used to use online. The full name used to be Badgers Nadgers, which is kind of like the Mutts Nuts, but for Badgers. So that was my online nickname, and it stuck because I went to a LAN party, so where everyone takes their computers and all connect up. But it was a huge one. It was like 1,500 people, and when I rocked up, you give your ticket number and they give you a pass and all that sort of stuff. And she handed me the pass and she said, we've all decided yours is our favourite nickname out of 1,500 people. So yeah, Badgers Nadgers. That's what it's going to be. That's what it's always going to be. Yeah. I like the whole drinkers with gaming problems because it's quite a pun. I'm not a gamer with a drinking problem. I'm a drinker with a gaming problem. What the fuck is an uwu? Does anyone want to tell him? Because I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna tell him anything. But yes. Yeah. Doing okay. Things have been interesting lately, but you know how it is. How are you, mate? I'm good. I hope everything's all right. And if it's not, you know where I am. And all that sort of stuff. Chicken. Yeah, obviously. YouTube will just be like, shadow ban this guy's channel. Don't give him any views. Don't show his video to anyone. Just like, you've been blue pilled. Exactly. But yes. So hopefully that's enough of an explanation, Zavith. But that's where that came from. And then the drinkers with gaming problems. It initially came around because I was just looking for. We went to one of these things and they said, "What's your clan?" And I was like, "We don't have one." So I was thinking about a name to pop up, and that's what I came up with. And I was just like, "Sorry, guys, I just can't." And the name stuck. And now it's the name we gave to a group of friends in real life who went to events, and it stuck, and it became a Discord name, and then it became a channel name, and now hopefully it's going to grow into an even more awesome gaming community where people can come and chill out and not worry about we all take the mick out of each other really, really hard. But it's also supportive, and people can come and chat, and when they're not having a great time, they know they can come here and be with like-minded people who want only the best for them. So yeah, it's that sort of place. That's what I want to do. I feel like there should be like a flag in the background and some sort of, and I should be kind of like, and something else I want. Yeah, you get the point, right? But yeah, that's the whole point of that thing. Avi says, someone didn't edited audio for SC, I think the Hammerhead Gunner or something. I saw that, in fact, and that was great. And what I also like the idea of is when you're in the pilot seat or whatever, is having like just bits of radio chatter and all that sort of stuff, even if it's just NPC generated. I don't think at any point we should be able to listen in on other people's comms. So data runner, because like we will regularly talk about stuff that's outside of the game world in game. Yeah. So if I'm talking to Edison, for example, like I might be talking about, I don't know, I've had a bad day at work because this, that, and the other. Now I'm choosing to say that to someone that I know, but no one else should be able to listen into that. So that sort of stuff shouldn't be intercepted with data running, and that sort of stuff needs to be protected. And that's why you wouldn't use clips like that of stuff that's going around. But yeah. Oh yeah, hell yes. Friends have to give each other a kick in the arse occasionally. It's in the unwritten rules of the universe. Yes. Yes, it is. You know, if your friends aren't, you know, mercilessly slaying you with stuff, that's you know, are they really your friends if they're not, you know, making you cry on a regular basis? Yeah, hybrid V or hybrid 5 audio. It's exactly that. Zaveth, that's the one I'm thinking of too. Really, really good. But yeah, hacking voice chat is going to be rather delicate because privacy laws and such. Yeah, and I mean this is the we've talked about this a couple of times, so apologies for those that have heard it before. But it's the idea of a map. It's you go and you find the crashed javelin somewhere, and you put a marker for it. But it's like, how do you get that back to your org? And this is why I don't like the idea of having coordinates on the map, because if I've got coordinates, what I do is I just type them in. I go, it's on this planet at these coordinates to Discord, right? There's no in-game value to having coordinates on the map. We don't need coordinates. I need the map to work. I need to know when I open the map and I open up the javelin thing, it's going to give me that. Now, that should be instantly passable around people on my ship, right? It just uses the ship's like internal network to pass that around. If I want to pass that to my org's headquarters, which is 7 stations or 7 sectors away on a big station, and they've got like big org computers and all that sort of stuff protected, what I shouldn't be able to do is just jump into Discord chat with the rest of the org and go, hi, can you just pop a message in? Because, again, there's no gameplay value to that. What I should have is a choice. I either send a ship back with the information, in which case it can be blown up and intercepted, or I transmit it much faster, but riskier, because people can pluck it out of the air. And what they get is the name of the waypoint, and they get not the coordinates, but they get a waypoint appear on their map system. So data running has a point. Data running isn't just another cargo. It's not just cargo by a different name, whereas instead of boxes, you're running around with hard drives and data chips. Right? That way, all of a sudden, now you're like, well, what's at that coordinate? Okay, well, let's go find out. And you fly there. And now you've got misinformation, because now you create a bunch of waypoints that are named things that they're not, and you send them low security, and people intercept them, and another org comes after you into your carefully laid ambush. There's so much you can do with that data running stuff, and I really hope they do not go to do just common cargo running by another name. Unfortunately, I put this idea on Spectrum some time ago, and people lost their at the idea that there would be no coordinates for no reason. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I don't see why you need coordinates. Like, what does it matter? Like, we don't have coordinates on the map now. And alright, the map's crap. But if all I did was double-clicked on something and created a waypoint, and I named it, and I did all that sort of stuff, I don't need to see what the coordinates are. They're useless to me. Unless what I want to do is cheese the system by passing it outside of the game. Right? I don't know how you would hide that from third-party mods, whether there's a way they could do that. You know, make that much harder to do. I don't know. I'm not a programmer. I'm not into code and stuff. Maybe they could, maybe they couldn't. I don't know. Or it has to be person to person. Yeah, absolutely. The only reason I would see indirect fire bombing or something actual co-ord would be much easier in standard. Yep. Yeah, co-ords and stuff like that. But even then, you know, you upload a target package. So you go, okay, and then what you see on the bombers, you see, here's your primary target with an attack direction. Here are your secondary targets if you can't hit the primary. You know, here's your tertiary, which regardless of which one you go for, that's also needs to be hit. You don't, again, you don't need the coordinates. That sort of stuff. Or it's not in a map system, you put it into the bombing system, so you get that kind of communication going. But yeah, that'll be kind of cool. Avi said they could probably just take it some type of marker or relative thing, so you know where the ally is in distance relative to them rather than absolute. Yeah, I mean, because the fun thing then is you get that skill level. So if you've got people on the ground calling out target coordinates to stuff in the air, then it becomes about how good you are in it, able to, at being able to communicate that to other people quickly and effectively. And then that benefits the orgs who spend a lot of time practicing this stuff, because you know how you're going to receive it and all that sort of stuff. And that's what the real military do. There are formatted calls for fire. Yeah, so if you want fire support, they expect it in a certain order, what the coordinates are, how many rounds, what they are, what the target is, where the closest friendly troops are, and all that sort of stuff. That would be quite cool. I'm looking forward to getting data running up and running, pardon the pun, along with exploration. It'll be my thing. I'm betting there's a coordinate system in the game, but it isn't exposed to the player currently. So what we've seen is you're entirely right. It is shown in the new star map. So the star map stuff they've shown at CitizenCon, there is a set of coordinates for, unfortunately. And that's why I raised it. I was like, ugh, don't do that. Because the beautiful thing is if you don't include it, people don't whinge. If you include it and then take it out, people will whinge. And, you know, CIG doesn't like whinging. Actually, speaking of direct feeding into something like a laser designator, directly feeding into the artillery bombs would be pretty sweet. That would be cool. Yeah, something like that would be very cool. That could be a vehicle thing. That could be something handheld. You know, it could be a specific rig. You could have an entire backpack that requires that, and you know, like a power pack for it, and something that comes over your shoulder, and you know, lasers or like a visor that comes across, or whatever. There's 101 different things you could do with it. But yeah, very, very cool. It's all good. I don't think we're going to get round to Siege of Orison this evening, just because we've only got 15 minutes left of the stream. So yeah, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. But I much enjoyed sitting in and engaging with you guys. So we'll do that, and then maybe we'll have a look at it next weekend. Macho, hello, buddy. How you doing? Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. Yeah. How come I'm thinking of a Ghostbuster Proton Pack now? I got nothing. That wasn't me. Yeah, good to see you, Macho. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Yeah, rifle-mounted laser system. I like the idea of like there being either ors. At the moment, like backpacks are just two guns, right? And everyone takes two guns if you're going to go into a fight. But actually, you know, I think there are plenty of other things that you can do that are like a trade-off. They've been talking later on about, you know, adding components to helmets. So like your searchlight, you might be able to change that out for brighter ones, more narrow focus, maybe infrared searchlights, so you only see it if you've got night vision on, all that sort of stuff. Communications, maybe longer range or encrypted. Your vision, so you can have one vision mod. So you can have thermal, you can have night vision, you can have infrared, you know, like all of those things, right? But you can only have one of them. And again, that would be very cool if you make them trade-offs. So you've got to carry around, and then if you want to do that, you've got to take your helmet off, you've got to detach stuff, you've got to reattach stuff, you've got to put it all back on. I'm a massive fan of those sort of kind of gameplay loops. I think that kind of balance and trade-off, and I think something like the ability to call in bombs should maybe be something bigger. Maybe it's an entire gun. Maybe we get some sort of binocular thing, and it goes in that binocular slot. So maybe it's vision. Maybe the laser designator isn't as clear. So you can use it as a basic form of binoculars, but it has that extra designation, and then you've got to take batteries for it, which counts ammo and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, plenty of stuff. Yeah. Okay, so thank you for the prompt. We'll have a look at the poll now. That's very interesting. So I'm going to end that now. We have 22 votes with 22 people on the server. So let's have a look. 11 for and 11 against. Interesting. Okay, so for the last 15 minutes, let's just talk about that, okay? Gently and without getting angry at each other, please, because that's what we do here. We don't get angry at people. Tell me about it. Make your case for why there should or shouldn't be any PvP in Orison. 1 or 2 sentences. Don't attack anyone. Don't call anyone idiots or stuff like that. Unless it's me, I guess you get to call me an idiot all you want. Nice, Avi. But yeah, so let it. Macho, I did enjoy Orison. Today we did one. It was quite a long one. We were behind the front line, so we didn't get to kill any of the lieutenants. We were running around trying to find the iffies and deactivate those, and we got absolutely thunderclapped by a bunch of AI at one stage. We all had to go back to spawn because we just got the snot knocked out of us by 2 groups at right angles. So we took cover against one. The other group just mowed us all down. It was bad. It was bad. But yeah, no, really good fun. Took quite a while on admin platform to find the IFF inverter. But once we found it, and I found it, pretty proud of myself. Disabled it. Yeah, good fun. Angry about what? I know people can get quite heated whether they do or what don't want, especially around PvP topics. So I just want to make sure no one gets kind of heated at each other. I'm going to murder this name now. I'm really sorry, but I'm going to try it anyway. Sikamiwa, welcome. Good to see you. I think it's probably the first time I've seen you in here. Please correct me if it's not. But the rep system needs to be in to see how it feels. It might slow the PvP trolls a bit. Yeah, 100%. Citizen Ninja says, hello, bud. I thought it wasn't intended to be PvP event. If that's the case, then there shouldn't be any PvP. Yeah, so exactly that. They said it wasn't intended, but they weren't going to stop it. So the question is, should they stop it? Or should they just let it run? Jodomo says, I don't think this will be a problem once rep comes in. How are the criminal elements going to get in and out once there are rep repercussions? Stakargord says, removing PvP would either block outlaws from this gameplay loop or conflict with reputation in future. Yes, because I suppose the other element is, what if your rep choices, whether they be good or bad, what if your rep choices and you playing the character you want to play stopped you from accessing certain events? So if criminals are not supposed to be in Orison, that's a really good point, actually, they don't get to play Orison. It's content they just can't access, which is weird. And don't get me wrong, maybe people decide that that's a reasonable trade-off. Games want real repercussions for, real reactions to our actions. Fine, maybe that's that, but it's something else worth considering. Macho says, I think there should be PvP. First of all, Chris Roberts kind of promised we should not be totally safe. So what is needed to have the high sec more skill with better AI and jail time means something. Yeah, absolutely. Sakima, 100% got it. Sakimiwa, and now I've just murdered it again. I'm sorry, but yes, good. I'm glad I got it right once. Woohoo! Retinabana says, PvP distracts from the mission and lets trolls cause issues because trolls will do whatever they can to live up to the name. Rep or not, people can create alt accounts to be trolls. They'd certainly do that. Avi says, once it has a second spawn for the Ninetales players rather than having them in the regular spawn, that will be a chunk of it. Like Battlefield, as CDF take platforms, they get respawned or pushed back. Yeah. Shadow Girl says, okay, my take. Eventually, based on how reputation is and punishment, death, drawbacks, etc., I think we won't find PvP in Siege of Orison, which I think is good because it's an event designed to allow players to PvE. Oh, Winter, hello, buddy. How are you? Good to see you. Sorry we didn't get the game. I'm just going to say to everyone, just while I've got so many people in at the moment, this coming Friday, 9 p.m. UK time, getting together for Siege of Orison. Be on Discord. Jump into the voice channel. I'll put some reminders in Discord as well. If you don't have it, it's down in the description. We'll get together, jump into a server together, and we will kick the snot at Siege of Orison because it's still running for another week yet. So we'll do that.
Okay. Hellwinter, I think PvP should be allowed everywhere. The only drawback is the amount of law enforcement in an area. If you are an unlawful PvP, you are going to have to put effort into getting into lawful areas. Yeah, absolutely. So I said it should be PvP because knowing that your battle is being experienced by other people as well is what makes the entire scenario much more immersive. And immersion is why I play Star Citizen. Citizen Ninja says blocking outlaws is appropriate for that event. Mount Stunner, because an MMO game without the front and randomness of real life players will not survive as long, in my opinion. And Jadomo says, I wouldn't have a problem with that if I fully expect there will be unlawful gameplay loops a lot behind rep. I take it that's a response to the what happens if, you know, because what if lawful players are locked out of some pretty cool events because they're lawful and not unlawful? So yeah, it's really interesting to get your thoughts because, like we've said, there's also the way people play games is a factor in this. If you like slow, or if you like calculated gameplay, the chance to organize, pull off some really cool like pincer movements and stuff like that. Clearly, PvP that's not great because that situation is fluid all the time. So, and a game is fully capable of allowing both. So there should certainly be environments to allow that to happen. And then we had a really good conversation about the distribution centers and how, because they're sharded, allowing PvE only content doesn't matter because no one else is experiencing that. Clearly, I think moving forward, if Siege of Orison is going to allow PvP, then exactly as you guys have said, there needs to be separate spawn points. Because why would people of opposing sides be getting there on the same shuttle? Doesn't make sense. Yeah. Um, Cryptmeister, good evening, bud. Good to see you. Players should be able to choose either side depending on their rep with Ninetales or Crusader Security. Yeah. And as long as the spawn points get balanced out, then yes, I agree 100%. Thank you, Shadow Girl. Shadow Girl says, also, don't forget to upvote the video if you guys don't mind. I didn't say that. Shadow Girl did. That wasn't me plugging my own channel. Thank you, though. Avi says, personally, still wish they would combine the blockade station and Siege of Orison in some kind of scenario. Clear the stations and attack Orison, or repel the attackers from Orison and go up to clear the station. Yeah, and hopefully the dynamic events become larger and more involved in much the same way as theatres of war. Does anyone remember that was supposed to do, right? That theatre war that was supposed to be coming 6 months from now, 4 years ago. Sorry, I got to throw some shade every now and again, just so we all remember we're talking about Star Citizen, right? Sorry, Scam Citizen. Um, so yeah, really interesting and some like really well thought out points, and it's both sides. I like, and I'll liken this to another game with ships, although not spaceships. So Sea of Thieves, the cartoony pirate game that came out a few years ago, has just released a new set of servers called Safer Seas. And Safer Seas is non PvP, so it's PvE only. And people have been kind of whinging about it for a while. Now, I've tried Safer Seas. I don't like it because although I don't heavily PvP in Sea of Thieves, I still crack on with the normal kind of PvE activities and just try and level my character and do all that sort of stuff. I do enjoy that constant feeling of threat and that constant needing to be aware of what's going on around you and not getting suckered into just what you're doing. You know, the risk of, can I go onto this island and lose sight of my ship for a while because someone might sneak up on me and blow my ship up before I can do anything about it. That's really useful, and I feel like the Safer Sea stuff, the days are probably numbered because it doesn't carry that constant threat, and people might think it's great with all the loot and stuff, but after a while, without the threat, without the risk, the reward starts to feel hollow. So I think that's likely to be the way. Just as we have to meet up on the rooftop, they would have to come in on cutties. Yeah, absolutely, and start like you know, they go to a station, they jump on a cutty, and then they're AI piloted down, which is clearly why they're not doing it at the minute because no one's AI piloting stuff, right? But if they've got an AI pilot down, then people can't abuse the cutties and slam into the platform where the players, the good players are and stuff like that. But yeah, absolutely. Citizen Ninja, yeah, if they're going to allow PvP, the event needs to be updated accordingly, like adding an outlaw mission with a different entry point to the platform. Yeah, and some sort of build up as well. They tried that build up with the Xeno threat alert, yeah, where they had the raids and stuff like that. If they could populate that a lot more, then that would feel a lot more natural and very cool. And actually, that's what the dynamic events are going to be. So at the moment, the dynamic events are driving the content. And driving player interactions. Later on, what they're planning with the Quanta system is the Quanta system will help the dynamic events recognize where this stuff is happening naturally. So if you have a lot of criminal activity in the system, that might trigger a dynamic event like the blockade in that area. So it's like layering missions and rewards and stuff over what's already going on. So it's recognizing what players are doing and going, okay, cool. Well, we'll formalize this a little, give people rewards, give you cool objectives that you wouldn't normally be able to do, and continue having fun. And that's the whole plan. So yeah, hopefully, I'm just gonna take a swig because yeah, mouth dry, right? Yeah. You also have PvE servers in naval action. It's less engaging than the PvP. It's not that you need to in those servers, but it is indeed that fear of being attacked. Rewards means nothing, and the game will feel bland. It also happens to Elite. SC has to be mindful of that. Yeah, 100%. And like I played World of Warships, unsurprisingly. I know Notorious plays World of Warships. We find a lot with that you can play PvE, and it's just dull. There's no real feeling of accomplishment to the victories, whereas where you play against people, there absolutely is. So, yeah, that sort of stuff is has been good fun. And yeah, so wouldn't dream of ever suggesting. Oh God, I sounded a bit. I wouldn't dream of ever suggesting that they don't do PvP. I come from the West Country, so that's what people around where I grew up. And thankfully, I never sounded like that, but I grew up around that. So every so often, especially if I have some cider or apparently rum, I roll an R every so often. So, rate my liver? Yeah, your dog be scaring my sheep. But yes, I'm pretty sure I'm doing this only to amuse myself, and that's that. But look, I'm really sorry again that I couldn't stream last week. Really glad that you've all come and joined me today. It's been lots of fun, as it always is, talking with you guys. Thank you very much for being as interactive as you are in chat. And looking forward at some point next week to getting that Clash at Escape video to you. All I would say is that please give it likes. Please give it all that sort of stuff and comment on it. I have knowingly copyright not copyright strikes, but I've used music that I know will make it ineligible for monetization or anything like that. So a comment would be very, very appreciated from you guys to get it moving in the right direction. Other than that, it's been fantastic being here. As I said, I'll take a quick look at the Discord just to make sure that I have everyone that has joined. Remember, Friday coming up, 2100 UK time, we will go to Orison. We will take it back from the dastardly Ninetales. It'll be cool. There'll be tactics light, an incredible pilot and medic. It'll just be a lot of fun. Thank you very much for watching. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.